There's an NBA salary cap expert that believes that if the Chicago Bulls allow Josh Giddey to test the free agency market, they might be able to get a nice little discount for when it comes to extending Josh Giddey. And then the Washington Wizards are urged to explore and keep an eye out on Bulls center Jalen Smith. Ha! Y'all know we're going to talk about it all and break it down, but you gotta hit the music first.
Cognac gang.
Shy Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. If you're tuned in with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. Now, look, a lot of things are going to be said about Josh Giddey and about how much he deserves, what's a good contract, what's necessarily a bad contract. What should you consider this past season? Should you consider the first half, or should you just consider everything after the All-Star break? But nonetheless, we know the man getting paid, but we just got to wait to see how much will he get paid. But according to salary cap expert Yoshi Goslin, who had posted some things regarding Josh Giddey on his Substack called The Third Apron, he had this to say in regards about Josh Giddey potentially returning to the Chicago Bulls on a discount. He went on and said the harsh conditions of restricted free agency and the lack of offers that may come with it could get the Bulls to offer him something in the low $20 million range annually. An annual salary in a $25 million range could be his ceiling and ultimately a fair compromise. End quote. Now, look, if we could get Josh Giddey on 25 mil per, sign me up. I ain't gonna lie to you, but we do know that the initial asking price coming into this past season was $30 million. You did see other guys around the league get that $30 million. One guy in particular is down in Orlando, and Jalen Suggs. Now, will this be something that I will be very, very interested in when it comes to going out there and giving Josh Giddey that money? I'm absolutely for it. I think that when it comes to negotiations, you got to do what's best for the organization, and the player has to do what's best for them. So with Josh Giddey, you're not omitted from those type of negotiations simply because, like I previously said in a couple videos ago, hey, we seen you play well and then very well improve after the All-Star break. But there is no way that I can sit here as a person who watched just about every single game this past season that Josh Giddey played in and just completely omit the first 55 games that he played in, to where he was struggling a little bit. The point total wasn't there. The rebounding wasn't at that peak that we seen him get it to. The assist wasn't really hitting like that. The passing ability was a little bit, it was a little stagnant, a little bit, for a lack of a better term. But for Josh Giddey, this is maybe a tactic that can be favorable for the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls, when it comes to Josh Giddey, they can very well explore this option with allowing him to go into restricted free agency like they did in years past with some of their own. We seen the Chicago Bulls go to Ayo Dosunmu and say, all right, go test the restricted free agency market. Nothing really hit on that market, and they end up getting Ayo Dosunmu to sign for $7 million per year. They did the same thing with Kobe White. Hey, go out there and test restricted free agency market, and then they end up getting Kobe White to sign for $11 million per year. Now, we can both and everybody agree that at the time of that signing, good deals. Good deals for the Chicago Bulls. And now those two players have outplayed those current contracts to the point to where people have ended this season already asking, hey, is Kobe White finna get that extension, my boy? Hold on, Arturas Karnisovas, is Kobe White finna get that money on? But nonetheless, when it comes to Kobe White, before just to kind of veer off a little bit, just to let you all know, Kobe White could get extended, but it won't be but for something that's too crazy. Right now, the Chicago Bulls can only offer 140% of a player's salary in the final year of their contract, or they can offer 140% of the league's average salary whichever is highest for Kobe White in particular. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the Chicago Bulls navigate Kobe White's contract situation alongside Josh Giddey's situation. Do you feel like this is the backcourt for the future that you can move forward with to see if these guys can help you continuously take steps forward in a developmental process that has a lot of people around Bulls Nation very, very frustrated, including myself? But we got to just allow it to play out. We got to see how this offseason is about to go for the Chicago Bulls, and we have to see who's going to be involved, who's still going to be staying here, who's going to be leaving, who's going to be potentially getting traded, if there are any trades that are going to be made, and what is going to be the return for some players that might be entering the Chicago Bulls organization. When it comes to Josh Giddey, though, if the Chicago Bulls say to Josh Giddey, go test the restricted free agency market, it will be a hell of a bold move by this organization, but they've done it before, as I just previously mentioned. It will be a bold move for the Chicago Bulls to say, hey, we understand that you trended in the right direction for this organization and on the basketball court. You improved defensively. You still got ways to go on that. You improved offensively. You still got ways to improve on that. We understand that once you got your feet under you, you're a very, very much better player for this team, but we need to see a longer sample size or a larger sample size for us to be like, okay, 30 million on the money. Let's get it done. Boom, 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 sign on the dotted line, and we move forward. But I can't be mad at the Chicago Bulls for thinking that way. Whether we think it's a move to try to save a little few dollars for Jerry Reinsdorf's pocket, I know it's going to be somebody that throw that out there. But nonetheless, it definitely will be a bold move to say, hey, go test this market. Because if we sitting here and we trying to just navigate around the NBA, who are the actual suitors for a Josh Giddey right now that wants to pay him $25 million, that want to pay him $30 million? It's a shallow list if I'm keeping it real with you. Maybe if I throw a couple teams out, maybe a Brooklyn Nets, I don't necessarily know. Washington Wizards, I don't really know. But who are the suitors that's going to come out there and challenge this type of bold move by the Chicago Bulls to say, oh, yeah, he's definitely worth $35 million? There is not many suitors that you can name. And if there are some teams that you can name, go ahead and drop them in the comment box for me. I'm very, very interested to see what suitors out there do you believe will be saying, hey, we absolutely want Josh Giddey on this team for 25 mil, for 30 mil, for 35 mil. Because honestly, right now, and the harsh reality is I don't see a large bidding war for Josh Giddey. But I could very well be wrong. And pump the brakes. That's not saying that Josh Giddey is a bad player. It's just that what some people believe about Josh Giddey, some may veer off on the other side of that, and that's okay. We all can go ahead and we can sit and watch the same 48 minutes in a basketball game, and just about everybody in the room is going to have something different that they took away from said basketball game. That's the same thing when it comes to these front offices as well, in my personal opinion. If the Bulls feel very, very high on Josh Giddey, that doesn't mean that the front office of Brooklyn has to look at him and say he's really like that. It doesn't mean that the Washington Wizards has to look at Josh Giddey and say he's absolutely like that. The point is that there's going to be a difference of opinion when it comes to evaluating Josh Giddey. Me personally, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, hey, if you can get him between that 25 and 35 range, we good. Once we start edging up to 40 million, hey, that's a little bit too heavy for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's a big meal to swallow. You know what I mean? That's a little bit too much. But if you can go out there and get him in a nice range when it comes to money, I think it'll make sense for both sides. But if you could definitely get him on the low end for a bargain, oh yeah, y'all must don't know. We shop at Five Below over here. We shop at Five Below over here. I'm just saying. So you definitely have to consider all those things. And I absolutely want to make it clear that I want Josh Giddey a part of this team for the foreseeable future. What the dollar amount is going to look like, that's not up for me to decide. It's just that if he does get that 30 million, if it does extend past that 30 million, hey, big expectations come with that money, boy. That's it. Even if Josh Giddey gets to 25 million, hey, expectations come with that money, especially when you start talking about how long you're gonna be here now. Oh yeah, we definitely gotta set those expectations to, hey, we understand that you know what I'm saying, had to struggle a little bit. There was some changes on the team coming into this season. There was some things that happened, around January. You started to get right at the end of January, hit February, hit March, and got going. But now I need to see a consistent season from Josh Giddey and consistent play on both sides of the basketball from Josh Giddey with some type of improvement to his game. You know what I'm saying? That's just what comes with the territory. We can't just simply sit here and negate that. When Zach LaVine got paid his money, we went out there and we said, hey, Zach LaVine, we need you to be a guy for this team now. The same thing and the same rules will apply for Josh Giddey if and when he gets that money. And whatever money that is, that's just what it's going to be. But hey, y'all let me know your thoughts and everything down below on that. Let me know how much you willing to pay Josh Giddey. Is the Chicago Bulls making a smart move, allowing him to test restricted free agency? I say it's a bold move, and it can very well work out for them, and it can very well turn and work out in Josh Giddey's favor. Again, I don't see many suitors for Josh Giddey. I know I didn't put out a perfect list of teams, but yeah, do you see many suitors out there for Josh Giddey? I don't necessarily know. Maybe somebody can rise to the top after this season once it's all said and done, and you get rid of playoff basketball and you move past the lottery, and get yourself prepared for the draft. How do you view things at that particular moment? It's going to be very, very interesting. Now, the next topic before we get up out of here, we got to talk about the Washington Wizards being urged to look at Jalen Smith. Yes, you heard that right. It was an article published by Sports Illustrated to where the writer pretty much said, hey, Washington Wizards, keep your eye on a situation in Chicago when it comes to Jalen Smith for a number of reasons. And I'm going to just keep it straightforward with you. I'm intrigued. Look, I understand that we can't get rid of everybody. We can't. I'm 100% with that. But I'm intrigued on trying to better the Chicago Bulls and get young bigs that are athletic and some guy that can come out here, potentially be a lob threat, potentially be a shot blocker, be a solid defender. Because I feel like the Chicago Bulls, the makeup of the team, they already got a bunch of guys that's going to get up and down the court to shoot the three. But now you need to go out there and establish something in that front court that allows for you to have a more physical presence in the paint. Because we look at Nikola Vucevic, talented center, and we say, hey, he's going to give you a double-double. He's going to give you 10, and he's going to give you about 10 and 17 every single night. 10 and 18, sometimes 12 and 20, something like that. But there's not really much of a presence in the paint from the big spot. We're seeing a little bit out of Zach Collins. Jalen Smith kind of struggled a little bit with that this season, maybe in part because he wanted to shoot more threes, or in part because he found his way out of the rotation. But at the same damn time, I'm up for everything when it comes to trying to reshape that front court. This front court needs a reshaping. I'm looking at the NBA playoffs and just one game last night. I'm looking at Karl-Anthony Towns battle in the paint. I'm looking at Mitchell Robinson gobble up rebounds. I'm looking at Kristaps Porzingis, who ain't, you know what I'm saying? He typically has that presence in the paint as a guy that can block shots and change shots from the offense, from the opposing team's offense. You're a little sick out there, though. But then when I look across on the other side of the bracket, you look at how the Houston Rockets was able to push Golden State to 7 just with Steven Adams and Şengün, two different styles of centers, but still a presence inside that was able to give a little bit more than the others depending on the night. And I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves on how Naj Reid, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle, all those big boys was over there to rough up the Los Angeles Lakers and get them out of here. I need that type of fit. I'm a guy that's looking around and I'm like, hey, let's see what's to it. And I know the Indiana Pacers, look, they got Miles Turner up in there. They got a lot of big wings too. So if you ain't got two good centers, you got to have a lot of big bodies that you can have on the court. You know what I'm saying? At said time, that's going to be out there to go ahead and do the dirty work, because the we seen times that the New York Knicks did go out there and play two bigs at the same time in some parts of the game. But we also see guys like OG Anunoby, big wing. You see Josh Hart, gritty wing. You know what I'm saying? Go out there and battle for rebounds. I think the Chicago Bulls, you can have all the outside three-point shooting that you want, but you need an inside presence. The Chicago Bulls need an inside presence. That's exactly what the Chicago Bulls are missing right now from this young team. So if you telling the Washington Wizards, keep an eye on Jalen Smith, and that can somehow flip into some type of draft capital to where we can go ahead and get another young athletic big up in here, hey, sign me up, because I'm about improving the team. Now, I do very well think Jalen Smith could be a part of this team if he's coming off the bench to kind of give like a different style of play for the center. But I still think that the Chicago Bulls should definitely still look at a big that can have a nice presence in the paint, get up and down the court, block shots, do what the hell he needs to do. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we get lucky and go get Kamon Mollywock. I'm just saying. Maybe we get a little lucky. I'm just saying. But we can't get above our skis, ahead of our skis. We just got to take it for what it is. But what is the proper move here is something I have to ask. You know what I'm saying? We know that Nikola Vucevic got to get out of dough. And we packing the bags for him. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that Vooch is a bad player. It's just to say that, hey, your lease is up. It's time to go Nikola Vucevic. It's time for Nikola Vucevic to leave the Chicago Bulls because the lease is up. That's all I'm saying. He's not a bad player, but it's time. We want to see a young center up in here to run with these young boys. Vooch deserves to go to a team that's in a better position than the Chicago Bulls. Let's make that clear. And then we move on. But then the interesting part is, do you hang on to a Zach Collins? Do you let go of Jalen Smith? Do you hang on to Jalen Smith? Or do you let go of Zach Collins? Who gives you the best chance to go out there and win basketball games? That's something that the Chicago Bulls are going to have to decide. But it's all going to come later down the road. It is a little early to talk about it, but it's still very, very intriguing simply because we need a big. And multiple bigs, if you ask me. I want two good bigs. Very, you know what I'm saying? Maybe not similar in play style, but a little bit different. That's why I believe, depending on how you go and where you fall in this draft, it can very well give us an insight to how the Chicago Bulls are at least trying to move. You can't expect nothing with the front office at this point. So we got to see how they are planning to move, or at least try. Because we don't get me started on all of the old historic stuff that they done the last few years. But that's the whole point. But hey, that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope y'all enjoyed today's show. Before y'all get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. If you want to chime in and be a part of the next episode, you can call in into our voice line and be a part of that next episode where I, myself, or me and C-Dub will react to your voicemail. The number to do so is 773-242-9219. We appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all always see red. And y'all already know, man, we're going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
Cognac. Gang.